Hello and welcome to the talk series on Guiding Lights by Zaggle. I'm Payal Gandhi Hoon, your host, bringing you up close for some riveting conversations with some of the brightest HR leaders. I have someone with me today who has the prowess of marrying people excellence to business excellence. She inspires many with her ability to be there as a strong ally for her people. She lives HR. She has a close to 4 decades experience, which is global, spanning education, IT, software, asset and wealth management, and now is with travel services. She's been an expert in behavioral sciences and leadership development and is associated with TISS, TIS, Symbiosis, SP Gen as a guest lecturer. She's also been a keynote speaker at NHRD, NASCOM, BMA, has been a president at WO Mentoring Chapter, National HRD Network, a former member on the executive committee of Bombay Management Association, and has led a leadership committee as well. Mona has been the recipient of Super Achievers Award by the Indira Group of Institutes for her in the field of human resources. She's also been awarded HR Leadership Award by Employer Branding Awards in 2008 and Women's Super Achiever Award, which was awarded to her by the World HRD Congress. And she's been also awarded the Most Influential HR Leader Award in 2017. On that note, I'd like to welcome Mona Cheriyan, the President and Group Head HR at Tomas Cook India Limited, to be the guiding light today. Welcome,
Yeah.
Mona.
Thank you so much, Payal. Lovely to be here, and I'm delighted to be part of this initiative. I'm sure we'll have fun chatting together.
Absolutely. Looking forward to our chat. So, Mona, I'm going to pop up the first question to you, and I'd like to invite you to share really what has been your strength or many strengths that have made you a successful HR leader. Over to you.
One of the key things which I believe in, Payal, is integrity. And when you're true to yourself and true to the people you work with, you end up having a lot more honest interactions. And I believe the best way to have a relationship with anybody, especially your employees, is to be honest and transparent. So I think one of the strengths that I hold very dear to myself is honesty and integrity, and that automatically, leads to a perception that they can trust HR. That, I think, is key to a relationship which grows. In addition to that, I love interacting with people. So, meeting people, chatting with them, understanding what makes them tick, possibly give them solutions to whatever they can do, is another area which I think I have a strength in. I'm good at striking a rapport, so I'm one of the few people who will walk into a room and at least come out with two friends. Usually the topic is about food, because I believe that somehow food ends up transcending all barriers, and you can find a lot of associations with that. I'm also a very quick decision maker. So I like to be deciding things really fast and making the changes that we need to make. Sometimes the changes may not be something which is completely appreciated, but well, nothing HR does is completely appreciated ever, right? So we live with that. But that's another thing which I think is really important. I do a lot of multitasking. My role requires me to multitask across a lot of things, a lot of functions, a lot of businesses, and I think it's also multitasking a home and an office, because all of us have a personal life and a professional life, and there is no such thing in my book about work life balance. You have to just sort of give priority to one thing today and another thing another day, and hope the whole lot will balance at some point. It has for me for so many years, so I think it works.
Thank you so much. That was really from the heart. And what I hear from you is integrity. The second set is transparency. And the third one you said was quick and multitasking. Now, moving on to my next question. You've done some pioneering work in areas of employee engagement, global policies, processes, leadership development, diversity, inclusivity, comp and ben, HR audit, processes, automation. I mean, be it everything, strategy, all of it. And you worked across industries. So, what might be interesting for the audience to really know is through your entire career, what have been one or two challenges that you want to call out and share that you've been able to win over from a HR lens, and how has that impacted the business as well?
So, one of the key challenges that every HR person, I think, goes through at some point in their career is asking people to move out of the organization. And it's a painful decision. It could be because a person is not performing. It could be because the person has done something in the organization which requires a disciplinary action. The sad one is when the person has been a great performer. There's no real reason to ask the person to go, but for some reason, business is not there and you need to right size the organization. So, a little earlier in my career, we had, the financial crisis when Lehman Brothers and the entire financial markets collapsed. In the organization that I worked at that point in time, we had to do a large amount of right sizing. And when you have to do one exit, you sort of deal with it. But when you have to do large numbers, and I had to do that in a few thousands, it's not easy because everybody has a story, and that story includes the person, the employee, and a family. It's always a family who's attached to that employee. So when you're exiting an employee, you're actually exiting the family as well, and that's not easy. So I think the biggest challenge that I learned to deal with is how to keep my bearings about me while I made the exit calls. I executed the exit conversations with empathy, and at the same time, I learned to deal with myself because quite often you go through the guilt of having, exited a set number of people. You need to look at creative solutions and figure out which is the best way you can execute what is the ultimate goal of the organization. I tried a few. We tried a few of trying to see whether we could take the workforce part time, whether we could, split up the salary into 1 week on, 1 week off, that kind of a thing. But ultimately, at some point in time, the final call is there was no money and you had to exit. The decision that we had to exit was taken. It was just that we tried to see the best way we could do it for people. And I would say that has been my biggest learning. Since that point in time, dealing with so many people and truly understanding the pain for them, for myself and my team, I think I grew overnight as an HR person at a different level. Each one of us measures our achievements in, have you learned compensation and benefits? Do you know how to do global payroll? Do you know how to do statutory performance? Do you know how to take training programs in strategy and leadership? That's all okay. But handling pain of another person and a set of people all together, when you have no real solution at the end other than actually go through the pain, is when you truly learn the rules of HR. And I think I learned those.
Thanks so much for sharing. And would there be any other challenge that you faced in your career that you think you turned around and which had again a business impact?
I think one of the challenges we had in the IT company I worked with is we didn't have enough of a female population to start with. At that point in time, there weren't so many engineering institutes as you have today. There were just the IITs and a few RECs. And if you looked at all the IITs and RECs where you got your graduates from, there were 7 hostels which were for male and 1 for females. So that told you that the population that entered the engineering college was 1/7. So when you had a talent pool which emerged out of the engineering college, you still had a very small percentage of women who were available to you. That set or that population, as per my definition, which is 4 M's, and I'll elaborate that a little further. Once you applied the 4 M's, you found that women did not stay in their career because of these challenges they faced. So, making sure that we did something to ensure that we had a larger percentage of women in the workforce was a challenge I took up. And in 3 years, I was able to change a percentage which was 22% to 33%, which was the target we wanted to achieve. So, what do I mean by the 4 M's? The first M in an Indian culture is what most women look forward to, which is getting married. And when you get married, those who are in cities understand that they have an opportunity for a career. But those who are in smaller towns or remote parts of India don't understand that marriage means you can still continue to work. Their understanding is that once I get married, I will follow my husband despite being qualified. And unfortunately, it's a society driven phenomena where they need to make that change. It's a lot different today. I'm talking about a career which was 35 years, so 20 years back, it wasn't this easy for women. So the first was marriage, the second was maternity. When a woman had a child, she felt guilty leaving the child at home and going to work, even if she had a support system. So that was the second challenge a woman faced. The third challenge, matriculation. And why do I say matriculation? The 10th standard in India is considered a sort of phase where the child decides their future. And the woman believes that if she studies with the child, not really physically studies, but sits next to the child, there's a chance of a better score. So the guilt of not being with the child does not allow the person to continue working. So they end up taking either a sabbatical or staying with the child when they're doing the matriculation. And the 4th M is medical, which can happen from the start to the end. Whether the lady herself has a medical issue is not in question, because both males and female members have similar issues. What happens is, if there's a in-law, a parent, an aunt, an uncle who's unwell, usually the person to sacrifice the career is the woman. So the 4 M's are challenges that women face right through their career, and helping women go through those challenges is something which I started very early in my career and continue to do so even today. So I take mentoring sessions for women who are looking at doing something in corporate India. I also do that for students out of college, so that they understand that the first M is not something that they need to really worry about. So the best thing that works is when you have a generation of women who are networked together. At my stage in a career, if I was to talk to somebody who's in their mid 30s and share my experiences of possibly what I went through and what I learned from those experiences, I'm able to convert 1 or 2 people to finding solutions for themselves. Somebody who's in their mid 30s helping somebody who's in their early 20s about what they went through ends up helping them. So having an internal network in the organization of women who share openly areas of concern and solutions, mainly on how to handle certain situations, is something which I think works extremely well. And that network should be there in every organization. I've had it in my last three organizations and it works extremely successfully. It's not a formal network where you call for a meeting at regular intervals, but you do have a gathering at regular intervals in the form of maybe a talk or a session, and then have a lot of interaction through just having chai together. When you have chai, you end up talking about various things, including how you came to work, how you go, what are the challenges, where do you shop from, how do I look after my kid, what is a possible problem that I'm facing at home. Those conversations provide solutions which go a much longer way than any theoretical session that you can have. So we have in Thomas Cook a network which we call WOW, Women of Worth, and once a year we allow women to go on a very subsidized holiday, which is 5 nights, 6 days. We have about 120 women rotationally, or sometimes even more, who go on a vacation together. When they come back, they have bonded, and after that bonding of that vacation, the rest of the year, they end up finding solutions within themselves. And that is what is important. And finding their mentors, finding their coaches, finding their support systems is something they do on their own. We just provide the forum.
Thank you for sharing the four M's. So, on that note, I'm going to also move on to something which is related to what we've had a conversation about, and it's really about rewards and recognitions and employee benefits. And I'd like to quote Richard Branson, and he says that, I quote, "Clients do not come first, employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of your clients," unquote. So I think in the context of the travel industry, it might be interesting to know what are some of the reward and recognition policies or best practices that you may have used in order to transform the employee experience, and especially in terms of down the value chain.
Absolutely. I think one of the things, and I won't say it is a reward or recognition program that we run, but we ensure that we have a culture where people feel good. And that is just, rewards is just one part of it. We have an engagement calendar which runs through the year, and we have something which not only engages the employee but the family, and it runs through the month, every month, through the year. We do a lot of peer recognition, so every business has a recognition program. We have a formal recognition and an informal recognition program. So when I say formal, it means you've done something which is work related and professional, and therefore you get you may be selected by a jury for a particular award which is given in the presence of a large number of people, so you feel good about it. That is formal. The informal is also the person who wears the most wackiest clothes, or the person who wears the most exciting slippers to work, or the person who looks closest to Ranveer Singh. These kind of things which are more informal but promote a lot of laughs in the workplace is something that we try to promote in the workplace within teams, because recognition is not necessarily about something professional. It's also about you as a person and what you bring to the workplace. The more fun you have and the more you enjoy yourself, again coming back to, if you feel good, you'll work good. We have the standard compensation reviews and the increments, variable pay. We have sales incentive programs based on how much you sell, but that is not unique to our organization or the travel industry. The one thing which is unique for the travel industry is to have a familiarization tour. It's called a FAM tour, where we send employees on an all paid holiday to be able to familiarize themselves with a location which they are promoting. So a set number of people go, understand the location, actually have a vacation, so that they can come and sell that vacation back home. Our top performers, which is 10% of the organization, get on to what we call an ROH, which is a roll of honor. The roll of honor goes for a fully paid holiday somewhere internationally. Obviously, it's not happened for the last 2 years because we're not doing too well. But having said that, every other year we took them, the CEOs go, there's an award ceremony, and people get to really understand what a travel organization is all about and what the destination is all about. Because ultimately we are looking at how will they promote travel at home with their friends and on the counter when they are at work. So some of the unique things that we do are similar to that. We also have a lot of these food things because when anybody travels, they're looking at having particular type of food wherever they go, and developing the product with having good Indian cuisine as well as local cuisine for the tour is something which is very important. So something as simple as just last week, Ramzan is happening right now, so we have the iftar party so that everybody can taste the best biryani and recognize it for future trips. So that kind of a thing is on in the organization at regular intervals. So what we try to do is make sure that people are familiar with the business, not necessarily from a business side, but more personal.
That's beautiful, and I love the coverage of what you do really at Thomas Cook and making people experience it. Because what is an experience stays with people. I was quite excited listening to the anecdotes that you were sharing, and I was quite visualizing how it must be really, and having a lot of laughter.
Yeah.
I think that's what
I
the world
think
is
we
missing
all
right
need
now,
to
and
laugh a little more
can do
and
much.
lighten
Yeah.
our load.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So we're continuing with the HR trends, and my question really is, what is that one HR trend that you're like closely following, and you'd like to recommend to the audience as
I
well?
think it's important to have the right amount and quality, and I'll stress on quality of data about employees. If you know what a person has as a background, as a resume, is one part. But the second is to really know what the person is today and what the person aspires to be tomorrow. So, from giving clarity on the role today to what clarity the person wants for a future role, I think is the bridge we need to understand and deliver. So, understand what the person is looking for. Is the person looking for a role change, a supervisor change, a business change, a career move to do something completely different? If we don't understand it, we're not going to address it. And if we don't address it, the great resignation is going to happen. So it's important that we have that connect with employees, and not just connect and chat, but translate that into data points which can be acted upon. When you get those data points, again, it's no point having a great HRMS which we have today, but using those points to do something, because having data with no action is no point. So ensuring that we really work HR like a business is important, because you can all, everybody talks about HR becoming soft and being touchy and feely. It's great to be soft, touchy, feely, but there has to be action. If you just listen to somebody's outpouring of woes and say, okay, fine, I understand you're feeling bad, you've addressed that situation just now, but the person is looking for something else in terms of action after that, not just an outpouring. So if you don't take action, you have actually hurt the person more, because the person will be left with the feeling, you heard me, I said all that I had to say, but you did nothing. And I think that is important. So I think one of the trends we need to look at for HR is to work like a business. A business chases a goal which has some revenue at the end of it. HR may not have revenue in the terms of pure numbers, but looking at employee satisfaction in its true form in any numerical way that you can, or qualitative way that you can, I think is important, because you have to measure where you're going.
Nice insight there, which you've shared, that not all HR people are people's person, but everybody's endeavoring. But the key message really is to connect, to endeavor to connect, to have the intent to connect, and see how that relationship really spans out to be. Is what is that one advice that you'd like to give to HR professionals that's an absolutely must do?
Have fun, enjoy your work. That's it.
I love that one.
The mantra I follow is if you feel good, you will work good. If you don't feel good, you will not work good. In fact, that's a byline I use within the team and within the organization all the time. That you need to feel good to work good, because the minute you come in positive, whether it is on a work from home or in the office, if you're able to connect with that one person, even your problem somehow becomes a little lighter. Even if you want to scream, you get a chance to scream and then move on, right? And it's not to say that everybody's screaming at all, but it's to say that you get an outlet to say whatever you want. Even if it is cracking an absolute stupid PJ, you want somebody to hear, right? And you need to have that forum to chat, to release, to do all that is normally human. And I think in human resources, one of the things that one really needs to understand is to connect. Your connection may have a positive or a negative outcome. You can't govern that always, but make the attempt to connect.
Thanks so much, Mona. And with that, we are coming to the end of our chat, which has been quite interesting with the stories that you've narrated and shared out of your life and your career. Thank you so much, Mona, for being on the Guiding Light series by Zaggle. It's been an absolute pleasure interacting with you and listening to
Thank
your
you so
views.
much, Payal. I had a blast. Great fun. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank
Bye.
you.